Okay, so the year is 2025, and we still have so many questions regarding the lore and Clancy and 21 Pilots and where this story is taking us. Now, Tyler has all but confirmed that more music is coming. He's confirmed at least that there's more story details, and he's carving out what the ending looks like. So with that in mind, whatever we receive regarding the ending, it has to somehow involve new music. I stumbled across a post on Instagram by Felina. I'll link their profile in the description, but basically they highlighted every story thread that has yet to be resolved. So I want to review this Instagram post and kind of keep all of these open-ended threads in our forefront as we enter this brand new year. Like, this is what we should expect 21 Pilots to fulfill, and why this year will be very exciting for this band. Okay, firstly, what happens after Paladin Straight? So obviously the music video ends on a cliffhanger. At the time, we didn't want to get our hopes up and assume that there might be more coming, especially because Tyler, Joseph, and Josh have said many times that this is the final album in the Dema storyline, but I think they were lying to us. I think they were lying to us, because why would this be the end of the saga? It makes no sense. The longer that we've sat on this ending, the more we've realized there has to be more coming. There has to be. And of course, when we reviewed the digital remains pack of all those unused assets and images that kind of was the inspiration point for the entire visual language of the album, we saw so many story elements that were just not used. For example, Dema is on fire. Clancy is lying down on the floor in a building that looks like it's on fire. And of course, we never saw the inferno that Clancy referred to in his letters that were sent out to those 1,500 random fans last February. We need to see that inferno take place on camera in a music video, hyped up within a song. We need to see that conclusion. And plus, we never saw the fire that took place in the outside music video. Surely that moment of blue flame was hinting towards the inevitable fall of the bishops. We haven't seen that yet during the Clancy era, so we need that fulfilled visually as well as spelled out in a song. Now, I already mentioned Clancy Ultimate Chapter 25, but this is a big deal. Like, we never really saw this thread come to a conclusion. Of course, at the FPE, the fan premiere exhibit in Columbus, Ohio, there basically was a puzzle for the fans to rearrange, and it spelled out Ultimus Capitalis, which is basically last chapter in Latin. So it was basically Clancy, last chapter 25. So we're right to assume that 25 means 2025, as in the year that we're going to be receiving the last chapter of Clancy's narrative. Now, on the topic of the fan premiere exhibit, we received numerous letters from Clancy citizens in the FPE, the fan premiere exhibit, that was basically fleshing out the world. And within the world, there's an uprising that's happening within the Dema walls. And we have not seen that uprising take place yet. I mean, surely this event, these letters that were being circulated within Dema, were important enough for the band, 21 Pilots, Tyler and Josh, to disclose to the fans. And it would be very lackluster if nothing came of that letter series. So I truly believe that in the Ultimate Clancy Chapter 25, whatever you want to call it, that we're gonna see those citizens come together within the Dema walls and aid Clancy in this final push. It's heavily alluded to the fact that the bishops understood and knew that this rebellion and these letters were taking place, but I still want to see what happens with it, especially when we got the message that all these letters were spelling out. We must destroy them or we will become them, and if we become them, we must do better. Who knows, we may get more letters during the European leg of the tour, but as of now, that's a pretty strong message that could hint towards the future of the lore and the finale. So we talked about the fan premiere exhibit. What about the tours? What about Tyler's shirts, right? He basically had a unique shirt every night, and all of these somehow connected to the lore in some way. We still don't know what these shirts were ultimately pointing to and what the culmination is. So that is an open thread to be closed in 2025. Now, the next slide talks about Drag Path, the unreleased song that kind of eventually became Overcompensate. However, there's a lot of unused themes within that song that seem to be a lot more heavy on the lore side of things. So I'm hoping that they took these concepts from Drag Path, which again became Overcompensate, and somehow reintegrate them into the lore, or at the very least into another song. Also, I really do think that Drag Path was supposed to be a crazy big deal on the album before it was scrapped, because during the I Am Clancy video, Clancy literally talks about a drag path. Like he references it. We don't know how late in development of the album that it was scrapped, but that would have been a callback, or I guess a foreshadowing towards that song. Speaking of Clancy, in the digital remains pack, there was a ton of imagery regarding Headless Clancy. There have even been tour photos of Tyler where his head seems to be like digitally removed or like blurred out. There's also headless imagery in some of the shirts he was wearing as well. So I'm thinking that has a significant connection to the lore, maybe insinuating that Clancy has to die for all of this to move forward and for the lore to end. But regardless, expect Clancy headless, or I don't know. Now moving on to the topic of new songs, which is admittedly like one of the most exciting parts of theorizing about 2025. Basically, Tyler tweeted out 11 characters and basically said like, hey guys, I'd tell you if this meant something, like this means nothing. So a lot of people were thinking like those 11 characters were representative of the first letter of 11 new songs. The 11 songs that are probably gonna appear on like part 2 of Clancy or whatever that project ends up being. Admittedly, this one is like the biggest stretch of everything on this thread, but it's not beyond Tyler, especially because a 21 Pilots banner for the FPE event had 13 dots, each one representative of a track from Clancy. Moving on to the second to last slide of this Instagram post, this is the reason why I decided to make this video in the first place, because it's so genius, it could work. And let me tell you why. Now, the 21 Pilots logo obviously has 3 lines. Now, Sala Felina has this theory where the first vertical line is Clancy. The horizontal line is the line, like the song, the line, like the one for Arcane. And then the third line would be the second half of the project, which is once again bridged together by the line. Like if they pulled that off, that would be insane. And if you took the 13 songs from Clancy, added that to the line, that would make 14 songs. But then if you added the 11 characters from Tyler Joseph, maybe representative of the 11 songs for Clancy Part 2, that would make 25. Clancy Ultimate Chapter 25, releasing in 2025. So I don't know, I feel like that idea is like too crazy, but it's so crazy for it to make sense for 21 Pilots. I just dream of the announcement from Tyler and Josh, basically them coming on Instagram saying like, we just had too many ideas for Clancy, this final album, that we had to break it into 2 parts. Like I fantasize about that announcement. I can totally see that happening. So yeah, these are basically all of the threads that are still open from the Clancy era, and all of these we should be expecting to see resolved within 2025. I don't think that's outside of this stretch of possibility, but what are your thoughts below? I'm really interested to see what you think about all this craziness. Please follow Sala Felina. Once again, they basically inspired this whole YouTube video based off of their crazy theories, which I think are true and can play out to be true. But yeah, show them support. That'd be awesome of you. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, call somebody today, whether it's a friend or family member, you may be saving their life. This has been Jake with Soul and Potential, and I will see you when I see you.